Right, Shalom. Giving all praise unto Yahweh Shema Shabbat Kodash. Double honors unto the apostles of Great Millstone. And I honor your brothers that be pushing this truth in sincerity throughout the four corners of the earth. I'm the brother Ibadga coming out here to give you this truth for the grace and mercy of Yahweh. Bashim Yahweh Shai. Bashim Kodash. Giving all praise unto Yahweh Shema Shabbat Kodash. So this is going to be a relatively a simple and straightforward video based upon a scripture within the book of Revelations, the 13th chapter and the 16th verse. And the purposes of this particular video is to touch on the cashless society and the conditioning, namely the small changes that Esau makes on an incremental basis in order to acclimatize people to a particular idea, namely in this particular situation, a cashless society. And what we've known via watching the prophecies and via reading the scriptures and via watching the circular events that happen throughout the four corners of the earth, we see that it's evidently clear and abundantly clear that this man is getting ready to set up a cashless society. And we are watching and looking and praying for the coming of Yahweh Shai, the destruction of this empire, which we understand from the scriptures is going to start with the transition into the MOTB, mark of the you-know-what system, and the cashless society. So whenever we see articles going into the digital bank, central bank digital currencies, whenever we see articles alluding to the crashing of the economy, whenever we see articles going into the transition between this empire and the empire to come, we get excited about it, and we feel a sense of relief right on the horizon, because we understand that this man's empire is on its way out, which we understand first and foremost it starts with that chip. Okay, so why is this particular article relevant with everything that I've just said? Well, we know this man, like I've said, he's getting to set up an NWO, with the epicenter of the NWO being the CHIP. Okay, we understand that, we know that from the scriptures, we've seen it. How's this article relating to that particular event? Well, for the longest time you've been able to have whatever amount of money you have within your account and be able to draw it. Now they're getting you acclimatized to the idea of not being able to withdraw the amount of cash that you have within your bank account. It started off with the transition from being able to pay with cash, right, to a system where you was just paying with a card. And I remember growing up in London, you used to be able to pay with cash. You used to be able to go on the bus, go on any forms of transport, most of the forms of transport, and you was able to be transported, right, and commute around all the cities within the UK without the use of cash. Right now, pretty much even the most obscure city in the UK, you would have to have some form of digital transaction card in order for you to be able to travel. And that's really something that bugged us out, but it was a real changing point, because I remember the times and I remember the machines and the devices that they used, where you used to put money into the bus meter, so to speak, and then now you had a situation where it went all cashless. Okay, the same thing with bills. There was a time when people used to actually go to the post office and pay their bills with cash. Now it's all direct debits. Okay, remember when people used to go to get their pension from the post office and they used to get it cash? Now it's all digital. It goes straight into the bank account. Same thing with your tax, and same thing with many other different things. I remember when they started off with the contactless payments, right? And they slowly increased the amount of money that you could spend with the contactless payments to get you used to the idea of cashless transactions. Now you can go in the store and pay off transactions up to £100, which is a lot of money. It used to be a lot of money, £100. It's still kind of like a lot of money, right, in these days and the times that we're living in right now. But right now we're in a situation where you can go and you can spend £100, right, within the stores. You don't even have to put your PIN in there. You could have the so-called smartwatch. You could have the Google Pay. You could have the Google Wallet. You could have the Apple Wallet. You could have so many different means of digitized currencies, to where really you don't need cash anymore. Okay, this is the world we're living in right now. We're living in a world right now where you don't need cash to operate. Right? You could lose your wallet, you could lose your money, and you still be able to make transactions, because everything has moved to a system of digitized currencies, okay? Well, not digitized currencies, but it's moved to a situation where you don't have to have currency anymore. You don't have to have money anymore. So this is a reminder of that. This is a reminder that we're in a time right now where, because everything has gone digital, number one, because there's less so-called cash in circulation in comparison to the amount of cash that people have actually saved up. That is to say, the bank might only have 100 grand's worth of cash, but they could have, in terms of the numbers within the system, they could have a few million, okay, a few 100 million, okay, maybe even a billion. The bank could have a billion net within the kitty, but they would only have like 100 grand in terms of cash. That goes to show you, it's already a digital currency. Really, you can't just go out there, everybody go out there like they had in Greece, like they had within Spain. You can't just go out there and take your money out, and they're letting you know that you got to contact them. So what does that allude to? That alludes to a couple of things, really, when you think about it, right? This alludes to a couple of things when you think about it. The one, okay, obviously the obvious one, which is in tune with the topic, is digital currencies and the ability or the inability to be able to transact with real money. We're in that time right now. But on top of that, there's another way you could look at this: the imminent and coming of a crash, and the different parties involved getting themselves ready to be able to say, look, you can't take your money out. Now, Barclays has already showed you that they are not infallible. Okay, Barclays has already showed you that they're not infallible. They already showed you that they could crash their banks, and you could be going out without money for a few days at a time. And pretty much what they told you when you couldn't access your money is that you pretty much had to go to a food bank. That was the message that they pushed out there, going to show you that their system is not infallible, and it's purposely designed to be not infallible. Meaning to say they could just take your money when they want to take your money. And this is another example of that. Remember how big Barclays is and how integrated it is, right, throughout the world. Okay, Barclays is a major bank, right? It's a major big bank. So you got a situation now where they're pretty much saying, look, now you got 15 grand in there, you want to take 10 grand out cash? Nah, you can't take it out. Where's the meeting? So what happens in a situation where you got a crash, right? The economy crashes, the bank crashes, you're running around like you're in Greece somewhere, running to try to take your money away, and you can't take your money out, you can't withdraw your money. Well, what's the first thing they're gonna say? They ain't gonna say, oh, you got 15 grand in there. They're gonna say, have you made an appointment? Right? That's what you know as red tape. Okay? That's what you know as red tape. The more red tape you have, the easier it is to control, right, a particular situation and how things play out. Then you think about, okay, you got to book an appointment, right? Barclays says you will need to contact us, right? And then, if you know, it goes into the explanation. I read it a little bit earlier on, so I'm jumping the gun here. But pretty much you have to contact them, make a booking, right, and withdraw the money, right, within book an appointment like you're booking a dentist appointment to take your own money out. Okay, you got to book an appointment to take your own money out. That's crazy, brother. That's crazy. Think about that. That's crazy. So again, like I said, imagine you're in, like it was in Greece, maybe 10 years ago in Greece, where all the banks failed and everybody was lining up at the bank to try and withdraw their own money. Now you got another reason why that situation couldn't play out. That's like a controlled way of doing it now. Now you're gonna ring the bank up, you can't get through because what? Because there's only 3 clerks working, right, the phones. So you go in the phone queue, okay, and you get the message saying, look, you're 11th in line, okay, you're 15th in line, right? All to manage and control that particular system, all to control and manage that particular way of being upon the face of the earth, of a cashless society, a potential crash, and many other things that this particular, right, announcement, so to speak, right, has implications, right, alluding to the MOTB. So, I just wanted to speak about that, my thoughts about it, okay, and I can definitely see this being a tool that they use in a crash situation. I definitely see it as a tool that they use to get you acclimatized to not having cash too. Okay, so that's my thoughts on this article. With that, I'm gonna say all praise unto Yahweh outside about Shim Kwa Kodash, double honors unto the apostles of great millstone, and I honestly brothers will be pushing this truth in sincerity. I'll see you on the next one. Shalom.